The soldiers sat in the mud and waited for death. They had been waiting for 300 years. Commander looked at his troops with his 4 tired eyes. They were young, most of them. They had been born in these trenches, and they would probably die in them too. The war between the Confederacy and the Dominion had no beginning that anyone could remember and no end that anyone could imagine. The Planet 7 was a graveyard. Millions had died here. The ground was more bone than soil. The sky was always gray from the smoke of burning cities that had stopped burning centuries ago. Tonight was quiet. They had pulled back to their lines. No one was shooting. These moments were rare, and the soldiers used them to rest and tell stories. A young soldier named spoke up. He was barely old enough to hold a weapon. "Tell us a story, Commander, something to pass the time." Looked at the young one and felt sad. Would not live long. None of them would. But stories cost nothing, so he nodded. "What story do you want to hear?" "Tell us about the humans," another soldier said. A few others laughed. Did not laugh. "You think humans are funny." "They are not real," said. "Everyone knows that. Humans are just stories that old soldiers tell to scare children." "Or to give hope to the hopeless," another soldier added. "My mother used to tell me that if I was good, the humans would come and save us all." The soldiers laughed again, stayed silent. The legend of humans was old, older than the war, some said. They were supposed to be a species from a distant part of the galaxy, a place so far away that no ship had ever reached it and returned. The stories said many things about them. They said humans could heal from wounds that would kill any other species. They said humans had no natural weapons, no claws, no armor, no telepathy, but they had conquered their entire world anyway. They said humans felt something called compassion, which made them help even their enemies. Most species thought these stories were nonsense. A creature without claws or telepathy could not survive. A species that helped its enemies would be destroyed. The stories had to be myths. But knew something the young soldiers did not. "My grandfather saw them," he said quietly. The laughter stopped. The soldiers looked at their commander. "Your grandfather saw humans?" asked. "Real ones?" Nodded slowly. "He was a scout ship pilot 200 years ago. His ship was damaged in a battle and he drifted into unknown space. He said he saw a vessel there. It was small and simple, nothing like our ships or ships. And through the windows he saw them, creatures with soft skin, 2 eyes, and no natural armor. They moved slowly and carefully. They looked weak." "What happened?" a soldier asked. "Nothing. His ship drifted past them. By the time he got his engines working again, they were gone. He reported what he saw, but no one believed him. They said the damage to his ship had hurt his mind. He spent the rest of his life trying to prove they were real." Paused. "He died before he could." The soldiers were quiet now. The laughter was gone. Far above the planet, something was happening. The reconnaissance vessel Steadfast came out of a warp gate with fire in its engines and alarms screaming through its halls. The jump had gone wrong. The navigation system was dead. Half the control panels were dark. Captain Sam Porter grabbed his chair and held on as the ship shook. "Report. What happened?" Lieutenant Kate Murray worked at her station with fast hands. "The warp gate was damaged, Captain. We came through at the wrong angle. Navigation is gone. I am trying to figure out where we are." "Casualties?" "None reported yet, but we have fires on 3 decks." Sam turned to his pilot. "Ben, can you keep us flying?" Lieutenant Ben was bleeding from a cut on his head, but his hands were steady on the controls. "I can try, Captain, but we need to land soon. The engines will not last." Kate looked up from her screen. Her face was pale. "Captain, I know where we are. We are in the system." Sam did not know that name. "Is that good or bad?" "Bad, very bad. According to our old records, there is a war happening here. A big one. 2 alien species have been fighting for centuries." Sam closed his eyes for a moment. They were just a small exploration ship with 32 crew members. They had no heavy weapons. They were supposed to be mapping empty space, not flying into a war zone. "Can we leave?" he asked. Kate shook her head. "The warp gate behind us is too damaged. We would need months to repair it." Before Sam could respond, the ship shook again. This time it was not from engine problems. "We are being fired on," Ben shouted. "A patrol ship, unknown design. They are coming around for another pass." Sam made a decision fast. "Get us down to the planet, find somewhere to land." "The planet is a war zone, Captain." "I know, but up here we are a target. Down there we might have a chance." The Steadfast fell towards 7 with smoke trailing behind it. The patrol ship fired again, hitting the rear engines. The ship began to spin. Down in the trenches, Commander saw the streak of light in the sky. He stood up and watched as the unknown vessel fell toward the ground between the two armies. "What is that?" asked. Did not answer. His heart was beating fast. The ship crashed into the dead ground of no man's land, throwing up dust and rock. When the dust cleared, the vessel was still mostly whole. And then, for the first time in 200 years, saw something that made him forget how to breathe. A door opened on the ship, and creatures stepped out. They had soft skin, 2 eyes, no armor. They were human. The myth was real. The Steadfast lay broken in the dirt. Smoke rose from its engines. The hull was cracked in 3 places, but it had not exploded, and that was enough. Captain Sam Porter counted his people. 32 had gone into the warp gate. 32 had survived the crash. Some were hurt. Ben had a broken arm. A young engineer named Amy had burns on her hands, but everyone was alive. Sam looked at the world around them. It was ugly. The ground was gray and dead. There were no trees, no grass, no life at all. In the distance, he could see 2 long lines of trenches facing each other. Between them was nothing but craters and bones. "Kate, what can you tell me about those trenches?" Kate Murray worked on a small portable scanner. 2 armies, Captain. One to the north, one to the south. Both are watching us. I am picking up hundreds of communication signals. They are confused. They do not know what we are. "Are they going to shoot at us?" "I do not think so, not yet. They seem to be waiting." Sam nodded. "Then we wait too. Danny, how are the wounded?" Sergeant Danny Cole was already treating the injured crew members. He was a calm man with steady hands. "Nothing too serious, Captain. We need to set up a medical area. I can have everyone stable in a few hours." "Do it." Sam organized his people quickly. They set up a defensive line around the ship. They pulled out emergency supplies. They did everything they could to look like they were not a threat. In the trenches, Commander watched through a viewing device. His hands were shaking. Commander said, "What do we do?" Could not answer at first. He was watching the creatures from the ship. They moved in ways he had never seen before. They were slow compared to soldiers, but they worked together with perfect coordination. They did not seem to use telepathy. They used their voices and their hands to communicate. And they were helping each other. One of them had a broken limb, and others were carrying him carefully to a safe place. Another was hurt and bleeding, and a third one was treating the wound with gentle hands. In 300 years of war, had never seen an army stop to help its wounded like that. Commander asked again, "Should we attack?" No said, "We watch, we learn." High Command wants a report. They want to know what that ship is. Tell them I do not know yet. They will not accept that answer. Turn to face the young soldier. Then tell them I am investigating. Tell them whatever you want. But we are not going to attack those creatures, not until we understand what they are. On the other side of the crash site, the Dominion was also watching. Warlord stood on a raised platform and looked at the strange beings through his own viewing device. He had seen many things in his long life. He had killed thousands of soldiers. He had watched cities burn. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until now. What are they? His second-in-command asked. I do not know, admitted. But they landed between our lines. That makes them a target for both sides. Should we attack? The warlord was silent for a long moment. Not yet. Let them make the first move. We will see what happens. Hours passed. The sun moved across the gray sky. Neither army attacked. Neither army retreated. Everyone watched the strangers in the middle of the battlefield. Commander could not wait any longer. He had to know. He had to be sure. He removed his weapons and stepped out of the trench. Commander, what are you doing? Shouted. Something stupid, answered. Do not follow me. If I die, you are in command. He walked across the dead ground toward the crashed ship. His heart beat hard in his chest. He expected to be shot at any moment, but the creatures did not shoot. They watched him come closer. Kate was the first to see him. Captain, we have a visitor. One of the aliens is approaching. He appears to be unarmed. Sam looked at the approaching figure. It was tall, with 4 eyes and grayish-blue skin. It wore the remains of a military uniform. It looked tired and old. Should we stop him? Danny asked. Sam shook his head. No, let him come. Kate, can you try to communicate? Kate grabbed her translation equipment. It was basic, designed for first-contact situations. She had trained for this, but she had never actually done it before. I will try. Commander stopped 10 meters from the human line. Up close, the creatures were even stranger than he had expected. Their skin was so soft it looked like it would tear at a touch. Their eyes were small and faced forward. They had no claws, no armored plates, no visible weapons built into their bodies. They should have been prey. They looked like food, but they did not act like prey. They stood straight and looked at him without fear. One of them, a female with brown hair, stepped forward. She held a small device and spoke words he did not understand. The device made sounds in his language, rough and broken but understandable. We come in peace. We did not mean to land here. Our ship is damaged. Stared at her. Then he stared at the male standing behind her. The male was clearly the leader. He stood with the confidence of a commander. Knew the question he needed to ask. He had been waiting his whole life to ask it. Are you human? Kate looked at Sam. Sam nodded. Kate spoke into the device. Yes, we are human. Commander felt his legs go weak. He fell to his knees in the dirt. 200 years ago, his grandfather had seen these beings and spent his whole life trying to prove they were real. Everyone had called him crazy. Everyone had said humans were just a myth. But they were not a myth. They were here. They were standing right in front of him. And then, far behind them, the artillery began to fire. Warlord had made his decision. He was not going to let them capture these creatures. He was going to destroy them first. The shells screamed through the air toward the crash site, and the war came to the humans whether they wanted it or not. The first shell hit 50 meters from the Steadfast. The explosion threw dirt into the air and knocked Commander to the ground. Sam did not hesitate. He grabbed the alien by the arm and pulled him up. Move, get behind our ship. Did not understand the words, but he understood the action. The human was saving him. A stranger was risking his life to save an alien he had just met. More shells fell. The artillery was finding its range. Soon the crash site would be destroyed. Kate shouted over the noise. Captain, forces are moving toward us. They are leaving their trenches. Sam looked and saw hundreds of alien soldiers running across the dead ground. They were not attacking. They were trying to reach the crash site before they destroyed everything. They are coming to help, Sam said. He made a fast decision. Everyone prepare to defend this position. We fight alongside them. His crew did not question him. They grabbed their weapons and took positions around the broken ship. The weapons were small, designed for personal defense against animals and pirates. They had never been tested in a real war. But humans had never been tested in a real war either. Not this kind of war. The assault came fast. Thousands of soldiers poured out of their trenches and charged toward the crash site. They were huge creatures, covered in thick armor plates. Their weapons were built into their arms. They made terrible screaming sounds as they ran. Danny Cole knelt behind a piece of wreckage and aimed his weapon. His hands were steady. His heart was calm. He had been a medic for 10 years. He had never killed anyone before, but he had also never let his friends die. He fired. The first soldier fell, then another, then another. Around him, the other humans were firing too. Their weapons were small, but they were accurate. Human eyes could track movement better than most species. Human hands could adjust aim faster than machines. Every shot hit its target. The soldiers reached the crash site and joined the defense. They looked at the humans with shock and wonder. These soft creatures, these beings without armor or claws, were fighting like warriors. Commander found a position next to Sam. His own weapon felt heavy in his hands. He had been fighting for 50 years. He had never fought beside anyone except soldiers. "Why are you helping us?" asked through Kate's translation device. Sam fired 3 shots and dropped 3 soldiers. "Because you needed help." It was such a simple answer, did not know how to respond. The battle continued. They kept coming. They were not used to enemies that did not run. They were not used to enemies that fought with such precision and calm. Then something happened that changed everything. A soldier was hit. He fell to the ground, bleeding from a wound in his chest. In any normal battle, he would have been left behind. Soldiers were taught to keep fighting. The wounded were collected after the battle if there was time. But Danny Cole saw the fallen soldier. He stopped shooting and ran toward him. "Danny, get back here," Sam shouted. Danny did not listen. He reached the soldier and knelt beside him. The alien was dying. The wound was deep. Any medic would have said there was nothing to be done. Danny did not care what medics would say. He opened his medical kit and started working. Watched with wide eyes. The human was treating his soldier. The human was trying to save a life that was not even from his own species. Around them the battle raged. Soldiers charged closer, but Danny did not stop. His hands moved with speed and skill. He stopped the bleeding. He sealed the wound. He gave the soldier medicine for the pain. The soldier looked up at him with confused eyes. "Why?" he managed to ask. Danny smiled. "Because I am a doctor, this is what I do." The soldier lived. He would fight again, and every who saw what happened would never forget it. On the other side of the battlefield, Warlord watched through his viewing device. He saw his soldiers falling. He saw the humans fighting without fear. He saw one of them stop in the middle of battle to save an enemy soldier. For the first time in his long life, felt something he did not recognize. It was fear. Not fear of death. He had accepted death long ago. This was a different kind of fear. It was fear of something he did not understand. He ordered the retreat. The soldiers pulled back, confused but obedient. They had never retreated from a battle before. They did not know why they were retreating now, but the warlord had given the order and they followed. When the shooting stopped, the crash site was covered in bodies. Most of them were. They had lost soldiers too, but far fewer than expected. The humans had not lost anyone. Sam looked at his crew. They were tired and dirty and scared, but they had survived. They had fought in an alien war and survived. Soldiers gathered around them. They touched the humans gently, as if checking that they were real. They asked questions in languages that Kate could barely translate. Commander walked to Sam and stood before him. The myth said humans were impossible soldiers. They said you could heal from any wound. They said you felt compassion for your enemies. I did not believe the myths. He paused. I believe them now. Sam did not know what to say. He had not asked to be a myth. He had not asked to fight in this war. He just wanted to get his crew home. But looking at the faces around him, looking at the hope in their eyes, he knew something had changed. The steadfast was broken. The way home was closed, and these people needed help that only humans could give. "We did not come here to fight your war," Sam said. Nodded, "I know. But we are here now, and we will not leave you to fight alone." Reached out with one of his 4 hands, Sam took it. It was the first handshake between human and alien in the history of both species. And it was just the beginning. 3 months passed, the war changed. Captain Sam Porter stood on a hill overlooking the battlefield. It did not look like the same place anymore. The trenches were still there, but the fighting had moved. They were winning for the first time in generations. And it was all because of 32 humans. Kate walked up beside him. "Another victory today. The pulled back from the eastern sector. Commander says they have never retreated this much in a single year." Sam nodded. He should have felt happy, but he did not. "We are not winning the war, Kate. We are just killing more efficiently." "Is that not what war is?" "No," Sam said quietly. "War is what happens when people cannot find another way. I keep wondering if there is another way here." The humans had brought new ideas to the... They taught them about tactics that did not depend on telepathy. They showed them how to trick the enemy with false movements and fake attacks. They introduced the concept of prisoners, of keeping enemies alive for information instead of killing them. They had never thought of these things. Their minds did not work that way, but human minds worked differently. Human minds were creative in ways that scared both sides of the war. The biggest change was in the soldiers themselves. Troops who fought beside humans started to act differently. They began helping their wounded instead of leaving them behind. They started talking to prisoners instead of executing them. They learned that there was more to war than killing. And they noticed. One morning, a soldier walked out of the trenches with his weapons raised above his head. He walked across the no-man's land alone. The soldiers aimed at him but did not shoot. Danny Cole was the first to reach him. "I surrender," the soldier said through a translator. "I surrender to the humans, not the humans." His name was Sorrel. He was young for only 40 years old. He had been fighting since he was old enough to hold a weapon, and he was tired. "Why surrender to us?" Danny asked. Sorrel looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death. "Because I heard you take prisoners alive. I heard you give them food and medicine. I heard you treat them like people." Danny brought him back to the human camp. Sam ordered him to be fed and given medical care. They wanted to interrogate him harshly, but Sam refused. "We do not torture," he said. "We talk." Kate spent 3 days talking to Sorrel. She asked about his life, his family, his reasons for fighting. She listened without judging. She treated him like a person, not an enemy. On the 4th day, Sorrel told her something that changed everything. "We fight because we have to," he said. "Our leaders tell us that if we stop, they will destroy us completely. They tell us this is a war for survival. They say we have no choice." Kate frowned. "They say the same thing about your people." Sorrel stared at her. "What do you mean?" "They believe that if they stop fighting, they will wipe them out. They think you are the aggressors. They think you started this war." "That is impossible. Everyone knows they attacked first. It is in all our histories." Kate pulled out her translation device and showed him records from the side. The histories were completely different. Each side believed the other had started the war. Each side believed they were fighting for survival. Sorrel sat in silence for a long time. "Someone lied to us. Someone lied to both of us." Kate brought this information to Sam. Sam brought it to Commander, and together they began to look deeper. What they found was terrible. There were people on both sides who made money from the war. Weapons makers, ship builders, mining companies that stripped resources from conquered planets. These people had worked together in secret for centuries. They had kept the war going because the war made them rich. The leaders who wanted peace were assassinated. The records that showed the truth were destroyed. The myths that kept people fighting were spread again and again. 300 years of death, and it was all for profit. Sam felt sick when he learned the truth. We have to end this, not just the fighting, we have to expose the people behind it. How? Asked. They control the information, they control the armies, they control everything. Not everything, Sam said. They do not control us, and they do not control the soldiers who are tired of dying. He proposed something that no one had suggested in 300 years, a peace meeting, face-to-face, human mediators. Commander thought it was impossible. Warlord would never agree. But Sam sent a message anyway. He explained what they had discovered. He told the warlord that both sides had been manipulated. He offered a chance to end the war. For 2 weeks there was no response. Sam thought his message had been ignored. Then the answer came. Warlord agreed to meet. The peace summit was set for neutral ground, a ruined city that had been sacred to both species before the war. It would be the first time leaders from both sides had met without weapons in 300 years. But not everyone wanted peace. In the shadows, the war profiteers watched and planned. They had controlled this war for centuries. They were not going to let a handful of humans destroy everything they had built. Assassins were hired, plans were made. The peace summit would be a trap. And the humans were walking right into it. The ruined city had no name anymore. The war had burned it away centuries ago. Only broken towers and empty streets remained. Once, this place had been beautiful. Now it was just another grave. Sam walked through the ruins with Kate and Danny beside him. Commander led a small group of soldiers behind them. On the other side of the city, Warlord was approaching with his own guards. The meeting point was an old plaza in the center of the city. A fountain had once stood there. Now only the base remained, cracked and dry. Kate checked her translation equipment one more time. Captain, are you sure about this? We are exposed here. If this is a trap, we have nowhere to run. Sam nodded. I know, but if we do not take this risk, the war never ends. These people have been killing each other for 300 years. Someone has to trust first. They reached the plaza. A few minutes later, Warlord arrived from the opposite direction. He was old and his armor plates were dented from a lifetime of battle. He looked at Sam with eyes that had watched millions die. You are the human, he said through a translator. You are the one who sent the message. I am, Sam replied. Thank you for coming. Made a sound that might have been a laugh. I did not come because I trust you. I came because I am tired. My soldiers are tired. We have been fighting since before I was born. I want to know if there is another way. Commander stepped forward. This was the first time the two commanders had ever stood this close without trying to kill each other. They looked at each other for a long moment. I have hated your kind my whole life, said. I have killed thousands of soldiers. I have watched my friends die fighting your armies. But yesterday, I read the histories your prisoner shared with us, and I learned that everything I believed was a lie. His eyes narrowed. They attacked first. Everyone knows this. Our histories say you attacked first, Kate said gently. Both sides have been told different stories. Someone wanted this war to continue. Someone has been lying to both your peoples for 3 centuries. She showed them the evidence, records from both sides, secret communications between weapons makers, hidden payments between companies that supplied both armies. The war profiteers had worked together even while their nations killed each other. The two commanders looked at the evidence in silence. Sam watched their faces change. First there was confusion, then understanding, then something that looked like grief. All of it whispered, all the death, all the suffering, it was for nothing, it was for money. It was not for nothing, Sam said. You were both fighting to protect your people. That was real. The love you have for your soldiers, for your families, that was real. Only the reasons for the war were lies. Looked at his old enemy. Can we end this? Can we stop fighting after so long? Before could answer, Kate shouted a warning. "Captain, I am detecting weapons, snipers on the towers." The assassins struck at that moment. They fired from 3 directions at once, targeting both commanders. The war profiteers had sent killers from both sides, working together one last time to prevent peace. Sam moved without thinking. He tackled Commander to the ground as a shot passed through the space where the alien had been standing. Danny saw in the open, frozen with shock. The old warlord did not understand what was happening. He had never been ambushed by his own people before. Danny ran. He threw himself in front of just as a sniper fired. The shot hit Danny in the chest. He fell hard, blood spreading across his uniform. Kate grabbed her weapon and fired back. She hit one sniper, then another. The guards finally understood what was happening and joined the fight. In seconds, the remaining assassins were dead or captured. Sam ran to Danny. The medic was lying on his back, breathing in short gasps. The wound was bad. Sam had seen enough death to know how bad. "Danny, hold on. We will get you help." Danny smiled weakly. "That is what I am supposed to say, Captain. I am the medic, remember." Stood over them. He looked down at the human who had just taken a shot meant for him. His face was full of emotions that were not supposed to feel. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you do this? I am your enemy. I have killed your allies. Why would you save my life?" Danny looked up at him. The pain was clear in his eyes, but his voice was steady. "Because you needed help. That is what humans do. We help people who need it, even when it costs us everything." The warlord fell to his knees. He had lived for 200 years. He had never cried. But now, kneeling beside a dying stranger who had saved his life, he felt something break inside him. "Save him," he said to the medics. "Save him, or I will never sign your peace treaty." They worked on Danny for an hour. Human biology was strange to them, but they learned fast. When they finally stopped the bleeding and stabilized him, let out a breath he had been holding the whole time. The peace treaty was signed that day. It was short and simple. Both sides agreed to stop fighting. Both sides agreed to investigate the war profiteers. Both sides agreed to work together to build something better. A week later, the Steadfast was finally repaired. The crew prepared to leave. The entire army came to watch them go. Thousands of soldiers stood beside them. Enemies who had fought for centuries now stood together in peace. Commander walked to Sam one last time. "What you have done here will never be forgotten. Humans were only myths to us before. Now you will be legends." Sam shook his head. "We did not do anything special. We just did what anyone should do. We helped people who needed it." "That is what makes you special," said. "Most species fight for themselves. Humans fight for everyone." The Steadfast rose into the sky. Sam stood at the window and watched the planet grow smaller below them. Somewhere down there, soldiers who had been enemies were now learning to be neighbors. Kate stood beside him. "Do you think it will last, the peace?" Sam thought about it. "I do not know. Peace is hard. It takes work every single day. But they have a chance now. That is more than they had before." Danny walked up to join them. He was still recovering, moving slowly, but he was alive. "So what now, Captain? Where do we go?" Sam smiled. "Home, we go home, and we tell everyone what we found out here. The galaxy is bigger than we thought, and it needs help." The ship jumped into warp space, carrying its crew toward Earth. Behind them, on a planet that had known nothing but war for 3 centuries, something new was beginning. Young soldiers from both sides sat around fires that night. They did not tell stories about battles or glory. They told stories about the humans, the soft creatures without claws or armor who had walked into a war and ended it with compassion instead of weapons. The myth had become legend, and the legend would never be forgotten.